Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Big Lake Now. I'm your host, Nicole Reid, and today we're talking to representatives from First Bank. We have on the line with us Carey Soud and Andrew Couse, who are going to give us a little bit of history of the bank, and then we're also going to get into some services and also a big celebration that's coming up this year. So good morning, gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Nicole. Thank you for having us.
Good morning.
Yeah.
All right, it's always a pleasure. We'd like to open up with Mr. Soud, if that's okay. Can you give us a little bit of background on the bank as we approach the 100th anniversary of community banking?
I can, Nicole. Thank you. And we certainly are happy this year to celebrate our 100th anniversary, our centennial anniversary. It's certainly a great moment for us. We are one of the oldest community banks in the state of Florida. To our knowledge, there's 3 or 4 banks that have had the privilege in Florida to celebrate 100 years. So we have a rich history. We started in Clewiston in 1922, and your listeners may know that the city of Clewiston was named after A.C. Cluis, who was a Tampa developer, but he was also a banker. And he was influential in helping to found First Bank. And he had enough wisdom and foresight to know, if you're going to start a new town, the best thing you can do is also have a bank there to help fund commerce and industry and real estate development. And so First Bank has been here since 1922, helping the local economy to grow and to thrive. And obviously it's worked. We've both been very successful through the years at doing that. Very interestingly, A.C. Cluis's grandson became the chairman of Florida Bankers Association. Our current chairman, Miller Couse, chaired the Florida Bankers Association in 2008. So this small town has had two Florida Bankers Association chairmen over its 100-year history. So quite a legacy. We have always had the idea that if you're going to borrow money in Henry County, then we want to be a part of it and we want to be involved. And since then, we've been involved in making people's dreams come true, whether it's financing a car or a home or a business or an education. We want to be part of that legacy. For this year, we'll have customer appreciation days. We've already had our first in Fort Myers. We have one coming up in Immokalee on March 29th, in Moorhaven on April the 6th, and Belglade on April the 13th, Clewiston September 22nd, and then LaBelle October the 19th. And the grand finale will be November the 16th in Moorhaven, and it's a big celebration. Mike Huckabee is going to be our keynote speaker, national speaker, and it's open invitation for the people of the Glades to come out and enjoy our celebration in November.
Andrew, can you talk a little bit about what it's like to be part of that type of legacy?
Well, I mean, it's humbling for one thing to just know that the work we do today, has a legacy all the way back, for 100 years. And we always joke that both Hendry County and the city were formed in 1923, so we're actually older than both the city and the county. Wow. So to just know that we've been a part of really everything that's happened, in our communities and with the families here for those many years. I mean, it's truly humbling, and it's an honor to continue that tradition and to be a part of, the strategy to push that forward for the next 100 years.
Andrew, you talk about the strategy of the bank. Can you talk a little bit about why community banking specifically is so important?
Well, it's important because we know the people, we know the businesses, we know the industry. A large bank outside the region doesn't necessarily understand sugarcane farming or vegetable growing, or doesn't understand the machine shop that builds these specialty products that service those kind of industries. And those are the things we understand, and we understand them because we're parts of the community, and we know those. We don't just know the business, we know the people. And, at the end of the day, you may be doing business with a company, but there's always a person.
Yeah.
And it's a business about relationships and knowing who you're doing business with and doing whatever you can to help serve their needs.
Well, it's not just a financial investment for us or strategic investment for us. It's about the communities we live in, and so our hearts are here. One, I think, great shining moment for First Bank was in the past 2 years after the pandemic hit and the COVID environment, the crisis that local economic crisis, the government implemented the Paycheck Protection Program, which was intended to aid small businesses to make payroll. And this bank, a small bank in Clewiston, Florida, originated $75 million in loans to 1,100 businesses in support of some 11,000 jobs. So it really is, I think, a beautiful picture of what community banking is intended to do. A lot of people happy because we made those loans. Yeah.
You do things for small businesses. You have commercial, you have investments, you do things in regards to education. Can you talk a little bit more specifically about exactly what the services are that the bank offers?
Well, we try to provide whatever services our community, demands. So we even do some specialty lending type things that a lot of banks don't bother to do, things like, accounts receivable lending, dealer floor plans, but, full range of lending for businesses, obviously deposit services for businesses and for individuals. We have great reward products, for consumers to get rewarded for their checking accounts with either high interest rates or cash back on those accounts. Of course, high interest rates is relative in today's world, but it is definitely higher than the market averages, and we run that product that way. Those are our reward products. But we've been on the show with you with Mike, our investment advisor,
Mr. Hodge,
who brings a whole nother range of services that aren't specific bank products that we can, that we can offer to all of our customers, whether it's retirement planning or just investing for their future. And, education really is something that's just kind of a part of those relationships of, whether it's a business owner that needs advice or an individual, looking for the best idea for is it time to buy the home or refinance the home. And so those kind of financial education moments just occur regularly throughout our interactions with our customers.
Which is so important because, like you mentioned earlier, it's not just about the money. It's about that relationship, and it's about that education, and understanding what's happening with your money is very important. And also for my children, you even do services, banking for kids. I have brought my kid in there before, and he's gotten a little bit of education on, minor banking and getting started, different terminology that he should get used to. How important is that for us to raise our kids up with a little bit of financial literacy?
Nicole, it's vitally important, in fact, and it's something that's really lacking. We do offer, to go into the schools and even in high schoolers, and I've taught several of them myself to do some basic financial education and just familiarity, because it's not necessarily a part of the regular curriculum these days. And it's important. Your finances are something that are with you your entire life. There's everything you do is going to have some kind of financial impact in your life.
Yeah.
So everybody needs the tools to make wise decisions when those times come up in life.
It's funny you say that because the governor just made a requirement. He just passed a bill that says that high school students who go to high school in 2023, 2024 will be required to take a financial literacy course. And I think that is an amazing move on the part of our governor. Andrew, I know that you have younger children. I feel like you working in banking, that's all you talk to them about. You probably go home and you guys have conversations about banking and financial literacy and education regarding savings and investments all day long. Is that true?
Well, not quite. Anyone who has children know that they're not necessarily the most attentive to what mom or dad has to say all the time. But definitely, we try to point out, when there are moments of making a purchase or saving some money, saving some allowance, just try to take those little opportunities, just like we would in the bank, to turn it into a moment for just a little bit of education.
Right, a teachable moment. Yeah, I try to teach my son that, and he wants to think about Fortnite and all kinds of other things that have nothing to do with what mommy is trying to teach. Now tell me, I'm excited about the centennial celebration and everything that's coming up related to that. I'm excited about the things that First Bank has to offer in general, but there were some newer things that we were talking about recently that First Bank has been involved in regarding services that are offered to our community.
Well, most recently we rolled out online account opening, which is, a big help that, it would have been nice if we'd had that in place before COVID, but just trying to really just increase the convenience level so that we want to make it as easy as possible to do business with us. And because not everybody has the time to stop in,
right,
during the hours that we're open. So, and we're working on other things to try to extend that technology reach.
We certainly have not shied away from technology and recognize, I think Andrew is the perfect example of that while we have a rich legacy of 100 years, really our future is the next 100 years, and how do we adapt to the fintech disruptions in the marketplace and the technological changes, and we've got to remain on the cutting edge in delivering products and services through modern technology that frankly, that's not just financial institutions, that's all businesses today have to use the automation and be on the cutting edge of that. So we're constantly looking forward and trying to adapt the medium by which we deliver those services.
I also feel like it's important, too, to maintain the hometown, feel of the bank as well, and not kind of divert from that small town feeling, because I think a lot of people are attracted to the fact that there are services that are not so, technologically inflated that they're uncomfortable with, the electronic part of banking, or, they like to come in and go to the ATM or speak to a teller. I think it's also important to maintain that as well. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it's not just, it's really not about replacing. It's really about augmenting. Yeah. And that, adding those channels that make it easier for you to do the things that you can do for yourself or that you want to do and after hours, at home. Right. But always having that person, available on the phone or in person when that's the appropriate way to deal with either the question or the issue. So it's not about a replacement. It's really about just augmenting and extending the reach.
Yeah, I think that's important to have both, to come in and be able to speak with a real person, but then also be on the cutting edge of technology as well. We can certainly appreciate that. In the current state of our country, if you will, there are a lot of people that are considering entrepreneurship, a lot of people that are considering going out and starting their own business, maybe fulfilling their dreams, with everything that's happened over the past 2 years going into 3 years. Have you seen a rise in people coming in that want to start their own businesses, who are interested in taking out loans for commercial property and things like that?
Well, Nicole, you should have been a preacher for community banking, because that's exactly who we are. Uh-huh. If you look at community banks across this country, smaller banks that have a local presence on Main Street or hometown banks, then we've been engaged in financing small businesses, entrepreneurial businesses, and that I think 60% of the small business loans in this country come from smaller community banks. It's the job creation of our national economy. Yeah. And so we're certainly interested in that, and I think we'll play a big part of that in the future.
There's a lot of upheaval. Just you hear about the Great Resignation and people really evaluating. Yeah. And I think I wouldn't say there's been a wave, but I think you're seeing the beginning of a lot of people kind of reevaluating where they are, and that's kind of where that entrepreneurial spirit strikes. Sure. And people, maybe it's the final push to make them, make a move on an idea that they've had. Yeah.
And not just to provide the financing for it, but to help them develop their ideas and business plans and marketing plans on how to make that business successful.
Someone who is great at an occupation is not necessarily thought through all the elements of running a business, because it's not, it's more than just the skill of the trade or the service that they're providing, and that's where we like to help fill in and realize that, because there's so many hats that entrepreneur has to wear that, if you're a mechanic, you work on something, but if you open your own shop, well, then you've got to deal with payroll and pay the bills, and, so there's so many things unrelated to actually, being a mechanic that comes into actually running your own shop. So that's again, with that education, that consultation, and helping them see that, and working on a business plan, and working through the numbers to make sure we help them start off in a sustainable footing.
Right. And that is what's so important. When I first did one of my first interviews with the bank years ago, I had Miss Deborah on, and then later on I talked to Miss Tuesday. And so they made me realize that the bank wants your business to succeed. They don't just want to sit you in front of them and take your money or give you money that they know you can't pay back. No, they want to see your business succeed, and they want to see you flourish, and they want to see you happy. And so they're working with you. And that education is just so important. I remember Tuesday telling me, we're going to tell you the truth. Okay, we're not going to sit in here and make you believe something that we don't think is going to be successful, that we don't think will work, or that we don't think you will fit into. Just as you mentioned, a lot of people can fix a car, but they can't run their own shop, which is such an important lesson, right? Because what if I sat in front of you and I said, Andrew, about Mr. Soud, I want to have an ice cream shop, because I like ice cream. But I have horrible customer service. I have no idea how to start a business plan. I don't know if there's a need for ice cream shops in this area. I don't know anything about the background of it. So that education and being able to sit in front of a banker who has 30, 40, 50 years of experience that can tell you the honest truth. And if it's not the time right now, guess what? We'll help you get there. We'll tell you how to build your credit. We'll help you with your business plan. Well, that is the beauty of community banking and going to the grocery store with the person who helped you, get that loan to fulfill your dream. Sorry, I'm preaching, but
and we can tell you here's two ice cream shops that failed and why that we financed previously, and here's two that succeeded and what that secret sauce is to what we believe success will be for you. So it does take a lot of experience to do that, and we certainly have that experienced staff here.
And then Nicole, it's our chairman Miller has said this over and over again. We succeed when the community succeeds. So when the community grows and our businesses do well, the bank will do well.
Right.
And that's. It's not any bigger mystery than that. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
The community does well, we do well. So yeah, we are interested in you doing well in whatever you endeavor to take on.
And of course, that's not just right here in Clewiston. That's at all of your locations, right? What are your locations here around the Big Lake?
Yeah, we started with a single location here in Clewiston in 1922 with about $250,000 in assets. Today we have $650 million in assets. We're growing about $100 million every year. It's phenomenal. And 7 locations in Clewiston, of course, Burner Road, 2 locations here, Belglade, Fort Myers, Moorhaven, Lavelle, and Immokalee. So 7 communities in 7 locations in 6 discrete communities. So we have built 2 locations in the past 6 years, which is very unusual, and you're certainly not seeing larger banks build branches. So
right. Wow, love that.
Been good.
Do you have a fuel loan? Have you seen these gas prices? I need something.
You need a loan every time you fill up anymore.
Exactly. Listen, Andrew, Mr. Soud, I want to thank you so much for coming on to talk to us all about community banking, First Bank, all of the services that you offer. And listen, we're going to be waiting and looking for our invitation to each and every one of these customer appreciation celebrations. Okay?
You got it. You got it. We're so excited, and you come join us. Everyone come join us.
All right. Sounds good. And thank you all for joining us for another edition of Big Lake Now. I've been your host, Nicole Reid. Stay tuned for more Pure Country. You're listening to WAFC. To WAFC. To WAFC.